Hello everyone. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to CAST for inviting me to talk about Jamila's legacy. I'm Rehana Sidat. I'm CEO and founder of Jamila's Legacy. And the two questions I generally get asked are why and who. So why? I've worked a very long time in the community, most of my adult life, whether that's on a voluntary basis or a paid capacity, and I've learnt a lot about the needs of communities, especially deprived communities, communities where people are really struggling, disabled people, carers, etc. And one common theme that always comes out is that because of the experiences they are going through, the impact on their mental health. And the reason I set up Jamila's Legacy is because the things that I found were either the person themselves did not know that they were actually struggling in terms of mental health. They could relate to the tummy pain and the headache and the loss of appetite, but couldn't connect that this was a mental health problem. The lack of mental health awareness, not only for oneself, but the people they were living with and the communities that they reside in, which is still a problem. So because we don't have that education, we don't have that knowledge, straight away those barriers come up. And then the stigma and shame. So it's the stigma and shame that then further isolates people who are struggling, because people haven't got that knowledge. So what stigma and shame does is that it basically stops people from getting the help they need. People deteriorate as a result, often reach crisis points, and sadly, some people take their own lives because there's nowhere. And it's this stigma that really bothers me, and this is why I do what I do. And I believe, I know we heard from quite a few speakers, providers of services, that these are the key areas. Prevention, that's the work, that's the business I'm in. Prevention and early intervention. It's really, really important. Why are we waiting to reach crisis points? Especially if we look at the cost of living crisis now, the NHS crisis, they can't cope. So why are we waiting for crisis? Let's intervene early. Early intervention and prevention, really, really important. It was always important, but it's now on everyone's radar. And maybe the motivation's wrong. It's about saving money, but at least it's happening. So for me, this is really, really important. Now, I'm going to go back to the question of who. Who is Jamila? I get asked that a lot. Jamila was a young lady who was 35 years old when she passed away, sadly. Jamila's legacy is in her memory. Jamila had severe mental health problems. She actually lived in the heart of this community. She had 2 children. After the birth of her second child, she developed postnatal depression. She was not understood by her partner, not understood by her family, not understood by her friends or her community. Basically, she was totally alone and isolated when she passed. She had nobody. That didn't need to happen. The kind of comments that she would get was, that's the crazy girl, that's the mad girl. You'd see her on the street and people would ignore her. That's the troublemaker. Even family members would not open the door. She didn't even have a GP when she died. That should not have happened. She died as a result, as far as I'm concerned, as the neglect of the services that should have been involved, and the neglect of the people that she should have been able to rely on, her family, her friends. Because sometimes there are mental illnesses that can make us so unwell that we are unable to take care of ourselves. We are unable to do the basic things that you and I are able to do. And that is when we really need someone. And she didn't have anybody. That was a wasted life, as far as I'm concerned. And I vowed when she passed away that I would do something. And so Jamila's legacy is in her memory. Jamila's legacy supports and educates communities and organisations in mental health. And our vision, bear with me, is to normalise mental health conversations, because if we normalise mental health conversations, we address the stigma, and then people will not feel shame and will reach out for help and will say, hey, I'm struggling. Got the wrong one on, haven't I? There it is. And we create a society where people with mental health problems are accepted, are valued, and feel they belong. So it's really, really important. What can you all do? Well, first of all, we can all educate ourselves, because we all have mental health, just as we all have physical health, and we need to know how to take care of our mental health. So that's where that prevention comes in, that early intervention comes in. You know what to do to take care of your mental health, and you're able to then reach out if you need to. So thank you very much for listening.